All right, so continuing our discussion on that social development in the infancy period. So your 9-monther, okay? So they understand no. All right. So you've got the baby, and they're over by the outlet, and the baby's reaching for the outlet, and they put the outlet up. They put their hand up by the outlet, and mom says no, right? And the baby pulls the hand back and looks at mom. What does the baby do? She looks back at the outlet and she puts her hand back towards the outlet. So what the baby understands is no, as in, no, I shouldn't do this. But what the baby doesn't understand is consequences. No, I shouldn't do this because if I stick my hand in an outlet, I could potentially die. They don't understand those things, okay? That thought process isn't there. But the understanding of no is there. Object permanence, right? This is a concept you have to know. It begins around 6 months. It's well established by 10 months. So daddy and baby are playing with the ball. Dad puts the ball behind his back. What happens when object permanence is there is the baby knows that the ball has not disappeared off the face of the earth, right? It hasn't evaporated into no place. So the baby looks for the ball behind daddy's back. All right. As object permanence is more solidified, they look longer, they look harder, they look better. Okay. So as this is happening, the same things that are happening developmentally. So gross motor, we're crawling. So we're on the move. We're mobile, right? We understand that mom and dad are my favorite people in the world. I don't really like other people because that started around 6 months. Stranger anxiety, separation anxiety. So socially, I know I want to be next to mom and dad. And if they leave the room, I'm following them. And object permanence is starting. And so when they leave the room, I know that they haven't evaporated off the face of the earth. So I'm not only afraid of not being next to them, but now I know I can go and find them. And I'm capable of doing that because now I can crawl. It's just a beautiful thing how all of that has come together. All right, language development. All right, I love this. All right, I talked about sort of learning this sequentially, okay? So when you're learning these things, learn them in order. Then you'll be able to understand, well, if they're doing this, then I know that that baby can't be 2 months old because they're already doing this. They're already imitating sounds. Okay, so crying is that first verbal communication. That's the first thing that they do. We understand that crying. Those caretakers that take care of that baby understand their verbal cries. So they're differentiated cries. Moms and dads know, oh, that's not a hurt cry. Oh, that is a hurt cry. All right, vocalizations, understand this. At 2 months, we're socially smiling, we're cooing. Okay, at 4 months, we're making consonant sounds, we're laughing. 6 months, we're imitating sounds, we're babbling. Okay, at 7 months, we're understanding social language. Okay, I love this. All right, so the 7-monther understands social language. So dad and mom are talking in the kitchen, and one starts talking louder or telling a story, and they're laughing. And what does the baby do? They start laughing, they start talking, they start engaging in the conversation. That's understanding social language. They understand that dad and mom are talking, they're telling a story. They understand that. They don't understand what the story's about, but they understand that mom and dad are socially engaging with each other and they want to take part in that. 10-monther, they may say one word, mama, dada. It's usually dada, but mama, dada, maybe ball, okay? Maybe up. The 12-monther, 3 to 5 words with meaning. In other words, they identify 3 people or things appropriately. Dada, mama, ball, maybe a dog or something like that. They say it appropriately. All right, teething, all right? So begins around 4 months. That's why our 4-monthers, what are they doing? They're drooling. What else are we doing? We're reaching and grabbing for things, and now we're putting things in our mouth. This continues until about 2 years old when those molars erupt, those final molars. We have 2 sets of molars. Those erupt around 2. And those molars usually erupt between 18 months all the way up till 3. The first signs of teething around 4 months. That's with drooling. 6 months, eruptions may begin, okay? So those are usually the lower central incisors. We have pain, we have inflammation, we may even have pulling at ears because we get little inflammatory things that occur within the mouth and the eustachian tube, and everything is connected. And they pull at those ears, and that can just be a matter of just teething, not necessarily an ear infection. All right, so let's talk about nutrition, okay? So up until the first 6 months of life, breast milk is the number one first choice of feeding, okay? Not everybody can breastfeed, and that doesn't mean that they're terrible moms. Formula, absolutely appropriate means of feeding a baby. It needs accurate dilution. I stress this in clinical orientation in the simulation lab. You have to make sure that you mix that bottle appropriately. So breastfeeding up until the first 6 months of life, or formula feeding. You can introduce solids as early as 4 months. I prefer 6 months, okay? I prefer breastfeeding for the first 6 months of life and then introduction of those solids around 6 months. We're introducing foods on intervals of 4 to 7 days, although this is a pretty much old recommendation, okay? The new recommendation is going to more liberal introduction. So we're introducing things um, um, more liberally, so earlier. So we're introducing squash on one day and green beans on the next, and sweet potatoes on the next day, okay? So we can be a little bit more liberal as we introduce those feeds. The other things is we're introducing eggs and peanut butter earlier. We're doing that around 9 months, okay? We weren't doing that until after the bottle, or after the birthday at 12 months originally. Weaning from the breast or the bottle around 12 months, okay? I'm a proponent for extended breastfeeding until the baby self-weans. Now, this is within, reasonable limits. I'm not a proponent of breastfeeding a 4-year-old or a 5-year-old, but yes, weaning after the age of 12 months, certainly from the bottle especially. And we are not giving whole milk in a bottle. Whole milk goes into a sippy cup, and if they won't drink it from a sippy cup, then they don't drink it at all. Whole milk at 12 months is the recommendation basically to transfer onto. Whole milk until 2, and then a low-fat milk. Inexpensive walking shoes are best, that are nice and flexible. I like barefoot when they're learning to walk, but obviously when you're out and about, you need shoes on them or socks or something like that. But those hard, sort of inflexible soled shoes may delay that walking. All right, immunizations. You don't have to know the immunization guidelines per se, as in memorizing them. But these are resources for you guys. There is an immunization record put out by the CDC, and you can find that here at these sites. Vaccine adverse report sheets. These are given at the visits for the vaccines that those kids are going to receive. Injury prevention. All right, we got to talk about injury prevention. So aspiration of foreign objects. So they're getting around. They're moving around, right? They're on the move. So what can they get into their mouth? Making sure that they can't pick up things and put them in their mouth. Big, big, big. I hate hot dogs. I hate candy. I hate grapes, and I hate nuts. All of which kids die on every single year because they choke on them. My kids have only had grapes a few times in their life, and that was at my mother's house. I don't even buy them. We don't have hot dogs, and if it's a rare occasion where we do, they're cut into like pizza slices, so different shapes so that they don't choke on them, they don't get lodged in their airway. Baby powder, not a huge fan of. It sprays up and they can breathe that in. And then obviously same type thing, suffocation. So we have to take all of these precautions. Injury prevention. All right, motor vehicle injuries. I belabored this on our first class. Car seats, Rear facing, the recommendation right now is until 2, okay? Um, Possibly longer. I have an almost 3-year-old. She's rear facing. My 4-year-old just turned around. Um, Rear facing is 5 times safer for kids. It is so much safer on their spine and their central nervous system. We're protecting their brains. They may break a leg, but we're protecting their brains. We can fix a broken leg much better than we can fix a brain. Um, Falls, because now we're crawling, we're getting around, we're falling, we're climbing stairs. Poisoning, burns, drowning. We talked about this last time.